What if I told you there are flowers you can plant one time and never touch again? No weekly watering, no fertilizing schedule, no pruning, no babying them through winter, no replacing them every spring. You just put them in the ground once and they come back, bigger, fuller, and more colorful, every single year, all on their own. Today I'm showing you 10 of these plants. They survive drought, they survive neglect, they survive bad soil, and honestly they survive gardeners who forget they even exist. Stick around for number 4. It's the one plant on this list that is basically impossible to kill even if you try. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to Elder Gardener. If you're new here, I'm all about growing a beautiful yard without it taking over your life. And this list is the perfect example of that philosophy. I used to spend every single weekend out there fussing over my flower beds, deadheading, watering, worrying about what was dying. Then I started replacing the high-maintenance stuff with true garden workhorses and my weekends came back. Now before we jump in, let's be honest about what zero maintenance actually means, because I don't want to oversell this to you. It means no fertilizing, no spraying for pests, no dividing or replanting for years. And once they're established, they handle drought on their own. It does not mean zero effort in year 1. Every plant needs regular watering for its first season while the roots settle in. After that first year though, these 10 basically run on autopilot. For each plant, I'm going to give you exactly what you need to succeed with it. The growing zone, the light requirements, and why it earns a spot on this set it and forget it list. So grab a notepad if you want to jot down your favorites and let's get into the list. Hit subscribe to Elder Gardener. I'm posting a full Lazy Gardener series and you won't want to miss it.
Let's start with a plant that's basically a weed that decided to get dressed up, yarrow. It's got soft, feathery, fern-like foliage and flat-topped clusters of tiny blooms in yellow, pink, red, or white that seem to float above the leaves all summer. Here's why it belongs on this list. Yarrow actually prefers poor, dry, even rocky soil over rich garden soil. Fertilize it and you'll get floppy stems and fewer blooms. So doing less is literally doing it right. It's hardy in zones 3 through 9, wants full sun, and once it's settled in after that first season, you genuinely don't need to water it except in the driest stretches. My one honest tip, divide it every 3 or 4 years if the center starts looking thin. That's a 5-minute job, not a chore. Other than that, yarrow just spreads slowly, fills gaps in your border, and keeps blooming through summer heat that would wreck most other flowers. It also attracts butterflies and beneficial insects, so it's doing your whole garden a favor while you do nothing at all. Next up is coneflower, and if you want a plant that pollinators genuinely love, this is it. Big daisy-like blooms with a raised, spiky center cone, usually in purple or pink, though breeders have added orange, yellow, and white varieties too. Coneflower is native to North American prairies, which tells you everything about how tough it is. It evolved to survive drought, wind, and neglect on the open plains. It tolerates rocky, average soil without complaint, needs full sun, and once established, drought is genuinely not a concern. Here's a tip that actually saves you work. Don't deadhead it in fall. Leave the seed heads standing through winter. Goldfinches and other birds will feed on them. You get winter garden interest instead of bare stems, and the plant often self-seeds a little, meaning your patch can slowly get fuller for free. Just know that coneflower can occasionally get a fungal leaf spot in very humid, crowded conditions. Giving plants a little breathing room when you plant them prevents that entirely. If I had to pick just one plant for this entire list, it would honestly be sedum. This is a succulent perennial, meaning its thick, fleshy leaves store water the way a cactus does, which is exactly why it shrugs off heat waves that leave everything else around it wilting. Sedum thrives in poor, well-drained soil, wants full sun, and needs essentially no fertilizer. Feeding it can actually cause weak, floppy growth. Taller varieties, like the classic Autumn Joy, form sturdy clumps that hold their shape through fall and look striking left standing through winter frost. The only real care task, and it's optional, is cutting the old stems back in early spring before new growth starts. That's it once a year, 5 minutes. Sedum also roots incredibly easily from cuttings, so if you want more of it elsewhere in your yard, you can literally snap off a piece, stick it in soil, and it'll usually take. It's about as forgiving as perennials get. Here's the one I promised you at the start, daylilies. If you're new to gardening or you've killed a few plants before, start here because this is about as beginner-proof as it gets. Daylilies tolerate almost any soil type, handle drought once established, resist most common pests, and each clump multiplies on its own year after year, so your planting gets fuller without you buying more plants. Each flower only lasts a single day, hence the name, but a mature plant produces so many buds that you get weeks of continuous color regardless. They'll grow in full sun or light shade, adapt to clay soil, sandy soil, whatever you've got, and honestly tolerate being planted incorrectly, forgotten about, or crowded by weeds better than almost anything else in this list. My tip: every 4 to 5 years, dig up a crowded clump and split it into 2 or 3. That's not required maintenance, it's a bonus, since you'll get free plants to fill other beds or give to neighbors. Now let's talk about the shady side of your yard, because that's where hostas take over. These are grown for their bold, often huge leaves in shades of green, blue-green, and variegated cream, rather than for flowers, though they do send up spikes of lavender or white blooms in summer that hummingbirds visit. Hostas thrive in partial to full shade and just need reasonably moist, well-drained soil to fill in fast. They're long-lived, genuinely low-effort once planted, and come back reliably bigger every single year for decades in the right spot. The one honest caveat: slugs can chew visible holes in the leaves, especially in damp climates. That's a minor, occasional issue you can manage with something like diatomaceous earth or beer traps if it bothers you. It's not a weekly task, just something to know about going in. Otherwise, hostas ask for nothing. No fertilizing required, no pruning beyond cutting back dead foliage in fall, and they get more impressive with each passing season. Catmint gives you months of soft, purple-blue flower spikes over gray-green foliage, and it's one of the longest blooming perennials you can plant, often from late spring all the way to frost. It's drought-tolerant once established, and because deer and rabbits generally avoid its scented leaves, it's a smart border plant if wildlife has been eating everything else in your yard. It handles poor, dry soil without complaint and doesn't need feeding. Here's the only care step worth mentioning. If it starts looking a bit leggy or tired midsummer, one quick trim, literally cutting it back by about 1/3, triggers a fresh flush of blooms within a couple weeks. That's genuinely optional, not required, but it's a nice trick if you want it looking its best all season. Catmint also happens to be a favorite of bees, so letting it do its thing without deadheading is perfectly fine too. You lose nothing by ignoring it completely. Russian sage brings silvery, aromatic foliage and tall, airy spikes of small purple-blue flowers that create a haze of color from midsummer right through the first frost. What makes this one interesting is that it actually performs better in poor, dry, well-drained soil than in rich garden soil. Fertile soil or too much water can cause it to flop over or get leggy. So the less you baby it, the better it looks, which is a rare and welcome trait in gardening. It's fully drought-tolerant once established, needs full sun, and its strong scent makes it naturally resistant to deer and rabbits. The one yearly task, similar to ornamental grasses, is cutting the woody stems back to about 6 inches in early spring. That resets the plant for the season and takes a few minutes. Beyond that single spring cutback, Russian sage is genuinely a plant-and-walk-away perennial that just gets bigger and showier with age. Black-eyed Susan is the classic, cheerful daisy-shaped flower with golden petals and a dark brown center that most people picture when they think wildflower. It reads clearly from a distance, blooms from midsummer into fall, and handles heat and full sun without missing a beat. It grows well in average, well-drained soil, is drought-tolerant once established, and this is the part that makes it genuinely low-maintenance long-term. It spreads on its own through both self-seeding and expanding clumps. That means your bed naturally fills in over a few seasons without you buying or planting a single additional plant. If it spreads more than you'd like, that's an easy problem to have. Just pull up the extras in spring, or better yet, pot them up and give them to a neighbor or friend starting their own low-effort garden. Otherwise, Black-eyed Susan asks for nothing beyond a sunny spot. No fertilizer, no spraying, no deadheading required to keep it blooming reliably. Ornamental grasses are the plant type most people forget about, and that's exactly the problem. They add movement, texture, and structure to a garden in a way flowers alone can't, especially once everything else has finished blooming. Varieties like fountain grass, pennisetum, and switchgrass, panicum, tolerate poor soil, need no fertilizer, and require no spraying for pests or disease. They handle drought well once established and actually look better with some texture and wind movement than in a perfectly manicured spot. Here's the entire yearly maintenance routine, and I mean the entire thing. Cut the whole clump back to a few inches above the ground once, in late winter before new growth starts. That's it. If you leave the plumes standing through winter instead of cutting them back in fall, you also get months of extra visual interest and a food source for birds, so even that one task is partly optional depending on the look you want. Grasses genuinely are a set-and-forget category of plant. We're closing with a plant that proves low maintenance doesn't mean boring, the peony. These produce some of the biggest, most fragrant blooms of any perennial, in shades of pink, white, red, and coral, and a single well-placed peony can become the centerpiece of an entire garden bed. Peonies are famous for their longevity. Many varieties can live and bloom reliably for decades with no division needed, often outlasting the gardener who originally planted them. They want full sun to light shade and well-drained soil, and once established, they don't need fertilizing to perform well. The honest tip here is about planting depth, not ongoing care. Peonies need to be planted with their eyes, the small pink buds on the root, no more than about 2 inches below the soil surface, or they may struggle to flower. Get that right at planting time, and afterward this is a plant you can genuinely forget about for years while it rewards you every single spring. So there you have it, 10 perennials that'll fill your yard with color year after year, with almost no work from you. Yarrow, coneflower, sedum, daylilies, hostas, catmint, Russian sage, black-eyed Susan, ornamental grasses, and peonies. Just remember, give them regular water that first season while they settle in, and after that, they're basically on autopilot. Which one are you planting first? Let me know in the comments. And if this video saved you a weekend of yard work, hit subscribe to Elder Gardener. More low-effort garden wins coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.